All right, what is going on out there, podcast family? It's been a while. It's been a while since we've done a regular episode of the podcast. In fact, it was the 16th of December 2020 since we did a regular episode of the podcast. And incidentally, that one was episode number 108, also with Matt Macduff, who I'm joined by today. As you guys know, we went into another lockdown at the start of 2021, start of the year, and it only felt right that we brought back the lockdown companion. And I want to say a massive thank you to everyone for your support. As you know, this thing, the podcast, is pretty much just a hobby still, and it even the lockdown companion takes up a lot of work. You might not see it, but trust me, the editing and all that sort of stuff does take up a lot of work. So I have been pretty slow with getting regular episodes of the podcast going, but hopefully I'm going to start making a little bit more time now, especially as we're sort of settling into the year a little bit and I can start plugging in some more guests. You know, I've got some awesome guests lined up, and unfortunately I have been putting them off a little bit again while we navigate this lockdown. So yeah, guys, honestly, thank you so much for your continued support. It does mean a hell of a lot, and the lockdown companion's been a bunch of fun. Equally as fun is sitting down with Matt Macduff, who is honestly one of the most inspirational guys in my life. I absolutely love Matt. He's become a good friend over the last couple of years, and I'm still sort of always blown away to sit and chat to him. Someone I've looked up to for a long time, and it's cool to have this little series. We call it Gettin Booked, where we take a bit of a deep dive into different books, and hopefully you guys come along on the journey with us too. This particular episode, we covered a book called Mindset. And if you haven't read the book, then don't worry. You know, we only use these books as a bit of a framework to talk about life, our experiences, and how these certain books can probably impact your life, improve it, for example. So it's taken me a little while to read Mindset, I'll be honest with you. We get into that a little bit and why it's taken me a little bit longer than usual. I aim to always try and read at least one book a month. Obviously, then Matt and I talk about it. But this one did take 2 months actually in total. But yeah, really interesting book. I think the topic of mindset is a very interesting subject. We talk about it obviously within this episode about how you approach your mindset. Are you a growth mindset person or are you a fixed mindset person? And we sort of talk about depression in this episode. We talk about, you know, is it sort of nature over nurture? We talk about how that a positive and also growth mindset can impact your life, your business, your relationships. We really get into it on this episode, I'll be honest. It's sort of now I'm just sort of realizing recording this episode how much we did talk about, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. But before we drop in, just want to say a really quick thank you to our show sponsors too. Once again, this episode is brought to you by Works and their portable HydroShot pressure washer. The Works HydroShot is unlike any other pressure washer on the market and is perfect tool for you mountain bikers and motorheads. And also people who just like to keep the stuff clean. There's nothing worse than getting home from a day's riding and then having to start the big cleanup. And if you're like me and you keep your bike in your house, then it's important also for the health of your relationship to make sure that your bike is as clean as possible when you bring it indoors. So why not wash your bike at the track or at the bottom of the trail? The HydroShot is powered by a PowerShare battery and draws fresh water from any source no matter how remote you are. All you got to do is dip the hose into some water. It could be a stream, a river, a puddle. You can even attach a bottle of water to the HydroShot itself, and voila, you can clean your bike right then and right there. No more having to stop off at a jet wash at a petrol station where it's super powerful, blows your bike to pieces, and no more annoying noise from a petrol jet wash either, which I've done a lot over my years. The HydroShot is available from all select retailers, which include Amazon, Argos, Halfords, Toolstation, and their official eBay store. Or the best thing to do is check out their new UK website, which is works-uk.com. Bag yourself a pressure washer, folks. Last but not least, we are also brought to you by Hook It Products. We are a UK-based distribution company, and we have just launched some awesome new stuff. We've just done 3 signature frame protection kits, one with Vero Sandler, one with friend of the podcast Ali Clarkson, and another one with also friend of the podcast Win Masters. So I'd love it if you guys went and checked them out. Of course, if you enter the promo code podcast, you will get 10% off anything and everything on the store and also free shipping. If you really want to support the podcast too, check out the merch store. But yeah, once again, guys, just appreciate you stopping by and listening. I really hope you take something away from this episode. Personally, again, really enjoyed it. This book really made me think about my own personal mindset when it comes to my business, even writing. And how I approach that, just everything. And we then also choose the next book in our series towards the end of this episode. If you do get to the end of this episode and you're not too sure, then there is a link in the show description for the next book too. And we'd love for you to get involved. Like, grab the book, hopefully try and buy it from a local bookstore, not the big A, and give it a go. Come along on this little journey with us. It's super fun. So, again, folks, thank you, and enjoy this episode. One love.
Riders ready? Watch the game.
I got big boy pants on! Did we just become best friends?
The Hook It Podcast.
Dude, we're recording.
Finally. I want to give you maybe a public apology for taking so long on this. So it's
Dude, it's all good. No stress.
Nah, there is a little bit, man, because I kind of had hopes of doing these every sort of month, and then I've been a month and 2 months actually I've taken to do this one, almost to the day. Actually, I looked before, so this one's taken 2 months. So it's my bad. It's as you know, things are a little wild in the UK at the moment. Going back into lockdown, that wasn't planned on my part of going back into lockdown. So as soon as we did, it was like, Ollie and I had to fire up that lockdown companion thing again. And then that's a weekly episode. And then actually trying to run a couple of businesses at the same time. I've just been struggling, dude. I've just been really struggling to keep up and read the book, to be honest with you. It's genuinely, that's the problem. I just haven't read it quick enough. Even though, how it is, kept trying to carve out time, this, that, and the other. And I just was like, it slipped back. I'd push it back. I'd push it forward. Ugh. It's been a mess. But
oh, dude, it's all good, and you got nothing to apologize about, man. I think it speaks good to everyday life. Everyday life is just, it creeps up on you, man, especially if you got a job or numerous jobs in your case. How do you manage everything? And you're trying to learn, you're trying to improve yourself, you're trying to work out, you're trying to do all these things. And even with COVID, there's only 24 hours in a day, and you got to sleep 8 of those.
Exactly. It's so true. It's so true. But I'm definitely been trying to look at different ways of trying to get a bit more time and stuff like that. But I'm not good at that, man. I need my sleep. I really do. And I know that sleep's super important. So as soon as I start burning the candle at both ends, it's like, nah, wind it back in a little bit. I start getting really tired and I end up looking like shit. I get this thing where I get yellow eyes. It's a mess. So I need to not be doing that too often. That's for sure. So yeah, here we are. I'm excited, dude. I'm looking forward to catching up. I'm looking forward to talking a little bit about this book, and just generally trying to put out some positive energy into this crazy world that we live in.
Yeah, man, things are crazy right now. And speaking of craziness, I really enjoyed one of your lockdown episodes there with Ollie, where you guys were talking about Brendog's mishap on trying to jump his house. And that was awesome, because I saw the clip and I was like, what the heck is Brendog doing? This is pretty out of character, because I know him pretty good. And it was really nice to hear you guys kind of go back and forth and explain the backstory behind it all. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Yeah, that clip's doing pretty good on YouTube, actually, for me and my little channel. It's doing really well. But it just goes to show, doesn't it, man? It's just this crazy world out there. And you've got athletes, like Brendog, who people will know as, maybe a year ago, you'd say Brendog, okay, high quality video edits, death grip, really high production value stuff. And then all of a sudden he's become a bit more of a YouTuber, which is, I wouldn't say it's low quality, not by a long shot. The sort of riding and stuff in the vlogs is insane. But then you see him trying to jump onto a house, and you're like, okay, what's this? Is this a whole new avenue that he needs to go down? I don't know. I'm still none the wiser, to be honest, after the whole thing. But it's interesting, dude. It's a fucking interesting time for athletes right now.
Man, it is. It is. Yeah. And I recently did a episode with a sports psychologist, and he was saying, he's a performance psychologist. So his thing is all about helping people perform better, which is cool. It's going to tie into today's book. But he he was telling me behind the scenes that mental health is a really big issue for athletes right now, and he's having to refer a lot of his clients to go see actual psychologists.
Really?
Yes, to get worked on, just because it's such a difficult time for them. There's no end in sight.
No, there's not. There is no end in sight. And then I feel like a lot of athletes right now as well are getting a lot of maybe social media hate and a lot of kickbacks off of doing their job. If I mean, Ollie and I have spoken about that a little bit too on the episodes. You've got certain athletes pushing the boundaries of sport, but then getting people hit them up like, you shouldn't be doing that. We're in lockdown. You shouldn't be. I mean, there's obviously one really famous case of Matt Jones trying to ride down a tree, and you're like, and I think for an athlete, that's probably quite a lot of pressure to take on, because not only you're trying to balance keeping your career alive and keeping pushing the limits of what you do, but you're also trying to like please the masses and please the COVID police. It's a really interesting time, and I don't know if I was an athlete, like how I'd really handle that, to be honest with you.
He got kickback on that?
Yeah, quite a lot actually. Yeah, I mean, and I've only seen so you remember the video, right? I believe Matt's done 2 videos about that, and I don't want to throw Matt under the bus at all, because I think what he's doing is brilliant, and I think he should be doing it. I think that's what he does as a job. He pushes the limits of mountain biking and, his own career and stuff. But it was the next episode of the Lockdown Companion then that Ollie and I did, and I put a thing out for listener questions, and a lot of them were, what do you think of people like doing stuff like that? What do you think of Bren riding and trying to jump a house? What do you think of Matt trying to jump, into a tree? A lot of people were asking questions about that, which I feel like even with my relatively small like following and stuff, that's a good gauge of how people feel, because they're like, I don't know. I mean, if you were just a regular dude who had a regular job, and there's a lot of people listening to this who are, and your hobby's going riding at the weekend, and you see Matt Jones, I don't know. Oh man, I'm so torn with the whole thing, like trying to ride down a tree, and meanwhile you can't go and see your family.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I don't know. I don't really know where I sit with the whole thing still. And I don't really almost want to take a position either way, because I keep flitting back and forth with how I think it should be. But I know the only way I can sort of rationalize it is him doing that is like me, hitting a relatively big double. It's like, it's pushing it a little bit, but you're probably going to be okay. That's the only way I can like try and rationalize it.
This is interesting to me, especially to hear you speak about this. And I think from my perspective, like, we just all have a little bit more responsibility to keep ourselves out of the hospital,
Yeah.
So we should just, think twice before we do something, or think 4 times.
Yeah.
And it's, because I mean, you really don't want to be in the hospital right now. You're right. And you don't want to add to the situation. So why put yourself at risk? And it's a crazy question to kind of think about. And what's crazy is, if we drop a whole year back when we first started going into our lockdowns, I was really thinking about this, and I was like, you know what? Absolutely not. I am not putting myself at risk right now. I'm not doing anything dangerous. I don't want to add to the situation. But man, here we are a year later, and I will tell you that I definitely don't feel the same. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do my thing, but I'm not going to do anything stupid or crazy. Like, I'm thinking often about what I'm doing, and making sure that I'm doing everything not to go to the hospital, because it's not a good idea. But man, and it's a crazy kind of thing to think about that hasn't really crossed my mind at all. And this is why I love talking to you, because you just right there, man, that's something that I'm going to think about this for a couple days, and I'm going to get back to you.
Dude, I think what's also quite important with this is that you factor in social media and YouTube, which for those athletes is a revenue stream. Mm-hmm. So if everyone was out there doing vanilla shit, like just every athlete was just doing the most vanilla riding, and it was literally just a case of just keeping sponsors happy with content, nothing too crazy. But then that one athlete does something a little bit crazy, then that starts to snowball of like, okay, so people are bored at home. They want to see Matt Jones riding down a tree. They want to see Brendan jumping over a house. People are bored, dude. Like they want to. I feel like they want to see that, but also it's just going to start that snowball effect because at the end of the day, the more views, the more clicks, whatever, the more revenue and the more sponsors are happy. So it's a very, wouldn't it be weird if we'd gone into this lockdown without social media and without YouTube?
Wow.
Because then athletes could just chill. They'd be like, no one needs to see it. No one needs to see me at a race. I don't need to do anything. I just need to stay fit and ride my bike, chill. So it's a strange one, man. I don't really know where I sit on it either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, dude, it's an interesting thing. And I think that I maybe had too many coffees to really talk to it.
I feel like the only rational answer though is just to stay safe, like, and not be that guy that's sat in the hospital because you've done something really out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I think only the athletes know, only you know what's the limit and what's not. And just stick to that.
It can happen anytime. Like you could hurt yourself doing almost anything. You could walk down the stairs of your house after having a big 12-hour sleep and not, have a little bit of sleep stuck in your eye and catch your toe and go for a tumble down the stairs, man. And
True, dude.
It can happen. When it happens. But you certainly don't want to be doing anything that puts you, out there to. You don't want to start walking down the stairs with your feet handcuffed together.
So true. It's so true.
Yeah, dude. And I think that as athletes, got to take that into consideration right now. It's really important. Like you said, there's a lot of people at home right now, and they're looking on social media, going, "Man, dude, why is he able to do this when I'm stuck at home? This is not good. This isn't positive." And I think that. We should take that into account. Like me, for instance, I got a project coming up in the spring here, and I was going to do a crazy project, but I basically sliced it in half, and I was like, wait. Why am I going to go do something dangerous as hell right now? Like, let's reevaluate things. And that was actually because of a book I read called Think Again by Adam Grant. And it basically gets you to rethink everything, like, yeah. And it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. Maybe I'll buy you a copy and send it to you. But basically, it's about rethinking everything, and that's what I did. I pressed pause on my life, and I rethought everything. And I was like, you know what? Right now isn't the best time to be doing crazy shit. Like, maybe let's just tone it down and keep it more mellow.
And dude, I feel like if you're happy with that, and not only you're happy with it, but your sponsors and stuff are happy with it, but it must be a really strange position for you because you're in that, you're in that cycle of producing content and producing the best stuff in the world, right? And you've just set the bar so high with your last edit. Then what do you do? Can you come out with like a chill edit and it's just like everyone's like, yeah, he's just taking it easy because of lockdown and a pandemic? Or do people go, what the hell? I don't know. Where do you sit with that? It's such a strange thing.
Well, I think you take inventory of your personal abilities and you find a way to blow people's minds, but not go outside your comfort zone, really. And that's certainly what I'm going to do here in the spring. I'm going to, I'm not going to step outside of my zone of comfort, but I'm going to apply my riding in new ways, new creative ways that maybe people aren't used to seeing. And it's cool because, we talk about like Terry Crews has this great thing where he's like, he says everyone's racing each other and they're all going to this one pot of gold on this mountain. Everyone's on the same road and we're all trying to outrun each other. But what we fail to realize is that there's fucking mountains all over the place with pot of gold. And all you got to do is stop the race and like, go look, take a look around and oh, what? There's a mountain over there with a bunch of gold on it that no one's on. And then you just, you just go over there and and everyone else is going the other way. And that's creativity. And I think, that's what athletes should be pulling towards right now and keeping the risk low, but making sure they're keeping creativity high.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, man. I really like that. That's beautiful. I like that. That's rad. It's so true, though. It's so true that you can find your own pot of gold. And maybe it's just, maybe at the end of it, it's just you that's like super stoked on what you've produced. And you just like, yeah, I'm happy. I'm good. Safe. Well, golden.
And
sort of thing.
maybe
So,
that was good. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just the coffee talking. I don't know.
either way, man, it worked. Either way, it was good. So how's lockdown been for you, dude? I know you made some, like, we just spoke about it briefly off air, but you made some changes. So you moved from where you were, which I guess was in BC,
Mm-hmm.
to where your family live, which is in
The East Coast in Toronto. And you know what? It's funny. I've really been thinking about you throughout this whole lockdown process, because over here on the East Coast, things are probably, I don't know because I haven't been to England, but they seem to be a lot more like the experience that you were talking about, being stuck at your house and kind of in more of like a populated area. Don't leave your house until everyone gets vaccinated, and just staying at home. Nothing's been open pretty much since the holidays. So it's been a very...
sounds very similar, to be honest.
Yeah.
Very similar to what's going on here.
And you know what? And we talk a lot about mental health in this podcast. And normally I'm the guy who's just super positive and like, ha, 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 ha. And, I'm programmed pretty much like that. But I will certainly tell you that I got down a little bit. And that's when I started to think about you. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is what it must be like for a lot of people around the world. And before, in the West Coast, things are kind of spread out so you can go do your thing. And luckily, my roommate's the best mountain biker in the world. And we had an insane facility in the backyard. We could just go do our thing every day. And that's amazing. But back here in Toronto, things have, my experience anyways, has really reflected, I think, the darker and more difficult side of this whole situation. And I was really thinking about you. And I guess I took a little bit of a downturn, but really my habits and my routines kind of picked me back up. And we've been keeping busy here at the family house and putting a whole bunch of new additions on it, and that's been amazing. Seeing the smiles on my parents' face as we increase the value of their estate. And it's it's been awesome. There's been a lot of positive things, and especially podcasting has been so good, man. I look forward to podcasting so much because I get to hang out. That's now we get to hang out, dude. And I found that having these conversations has really been a huge light for me, and whenever they happen, and really positively affected my mood.
That's beautiful. And also I can attest to that. When we went into lockdown the first time, and Ollie and I actually set up the Lockdown Companion podcast. And it's weird, dude, because over time, like, that has become my saving grace. Like, that's my, like, socializing almost every week. It really is, like, and it feels the same for a lot of the listeners, dude. Again, I know we were talking before we started recording, but the amount of messages that I get off people now that are like, look, I actually look forward to this on a Wednesday. I'm not seeing my friends. I'm not seeing my family. I can't go out to the pub. I can't go ride my bike with friends. So yeah, man, it's been the same for me. Like, I look forward to that chat with Ollie even every Monday, because it's just like hanging out with a friend. Well, it is like hanging out with a friend and just shooting the shit, and not really, we never have any plan what we're going to do. We just like hit record and just go with the flow. And obviously over time, certain storylines seem to evolve, and we've got all sorts of shit going on now. But for the most part, it's just a case of hitting record and doing what you would be doing normally if you were just hanging out with your friends. But similar to what you just said, dude, it's like, for me, that the routine is what's kept me going. I think, and I'm very aware that if I dipped out of that routine for some reason, maybe, one day I thought, I'm just going to lay in bed today. I'm not going to get out of bed. I feel like that would be like a slippery slope for me, to be honest. And then it would be, well, I might as well lay in bed the next day. And then, well, there's no point really doing any work today. There's no point working out because you might as well stay in bed. And I think that would be like a sort of vicious cycle to get into. And, you know, with the job that I do, I do speak to a lot of people who work in the outdoors industry and action sports and stuff, and all of those shops, apart from bike shops, are closed. And it's been super interesting to speak to certain people that are like quite high up in companies. Maybe they're a buyer for like a big retailer, and we have like a virtual chat, and they won't even put the video on because they're like laid in bed and it's midday. You know, and that's like the reality of how people are getting. Like, and dude, what's the worst thing for your health? Like sedentary lifestyle, like just laying in bed, not going outside. So I think for me, it has been like the routine that's really kept me going almost. You know, I got into a really strict routine at the start of the first lockdown, which is, dude, a year ago almost. A fucking year at home. It's crazy. And I've just sort of stuck to it. Every day is almost the same. And I found some like benefits in that, to be honest. I've never had a routine from leaving school at 16. I've never had like a 9 to 5 job, but I sort of treat it now like a bit of a sort of 9 to 5, but not really. It's like, as long as I do a certain amount of work in the day and I feel comfortable in myself that I've done a little bit, like I'm happy. But for the most part, I think, you know what I've been thinking about too? It's like, if a year or so ago someone said to you, right, you can hang out at home for a year, you can think for a year, you can have all the time you want to read books, listen to podcasts, go walking whenever you want, ride your bike. All right, it might be on your own, but whenever you want, I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'll take some of that. You know, unfortunately, there's a global pandemic attached to it, but like, I'm really sort of mindful that, you know, fast forward to a year from now and everything's open, hopefully, and back to normal. I'd hate to look back and think that I'd wasted this time just sat around like doing nothing, just watching TV or some bullshit stuff. So I'm really trying to use it as like a positive. And I think that like that switch in your like brain of like, right, use this as a positive, not as a negative thing, is quite important, I think. And like you said, you're spending time with your family. You've been almost forced to do it, but it's positive. Surely it's only positive.
Yeah, it is. It is really nice actually, because I didn't see my family for a whole year, so it's been great. It's been really great. It's certainly brought us together, closer together, and made our relationship even stronger. And it's funny though, you know, because I hear you talk about this reason, like when you don't have a reason to get up in the morning, that is hard, man. You're lying in bed and you're like, you know, 7:00 and, you know, you don't have a podcast till 1. Why are you going to get up at 7, you know?
Yeah.
And that is tough. And even working out, like, you know, like, dude, I've never been this fit before, you know, in my entire life. And awesome. It's, you know, it's because of all this, you know, time in lockdown. But, you know, sometimes while I'm exercising like an animal, I can't help but ask myself, what are you doing this for?
Totally.
Like is society going to shut down and zombies going to kick down the walls of my house and come to attack my family? Well, okay, if that happens, I'm going to be ready for it. But like, why am I going to need these muscles if that's not going to happen? Yeah. You know, and that's been really funny thing that I've noticed. You know, sweating it out in the living room floor, or out in the backyard, because we don't really have too much place to exercise here. So I've been doing most of my exercising in the snow. And
I've seen, dude, you've been out running in the snow and stuff. That inspired me to go for a run in the snow in winter, actually. Like a month or so ago, it snowed here, and I was like, right, I'm going to run a mile in the snow. And I managed to do it, and it was horrible. It was the worst, but also really empowering at the same time.
Yeah. And I've been coming up with all sorts of ideas to, you know, of torture, personal torture in the cold. And, you know, you can't help but, you know, at some point when you're breaking yourself down, you're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And you know, that's a really tough question. It's the same question as why am I going to get up in the morning, really? And it's hard sometimes to find an answer to that. I had a couple weeks here when I certainly couldn't answer it. You know, I was just like, well, I don't know why you're doing it, but you're doing it.
Yeah, totally.
So get used to it.
Totally. One thing that like really helped me. One thing that really helped was just having someone to be accountable to. That's been like a massive thing.
Really?
So I got a friend who lives up the road. We just walk the dog every morning, and it's only a little thing. It's only a 30-minute dog walk, but having that thing that like you were saying, like that reason. So when you're hitting the snooze button, and you're like, I don't want to get up. I'm pretty bad for like letting people down. I try never to be late for things or let people down. So like every day, like I get up and we meet and go for a dog walk. And sometimes we barely even talk, but it's just the case of like getting up, getting out, and getting into that routine. Like,
That's awesome.
Trying to do it as close to the sort of like morning, like what would you call it, sunrise as possible. So you're in some sort of circadian rhythm, and it just feels so much better. Yeah, it's hard, but I think and I said that on a podcast recently. It's like, if you are struggling, find someone who's going to walk with you, or something locally, like a neighbor, someone you barely even know. Like, just find someone who you can meet in the morning, and they'll just get you up and out. Makes a massive difference. Like, how many people as well now, man, will just be like working at home, rolling out of bed, turning on the laptop, staring at it for 6, 7, 8 hours, barely drinking any water, closing it down, watching TV, going to bed. It is brutal. There's been like a huge spike here in, they call it the cereal boom. So like breakfast cereal has gone, apparently it's like 10x what they usually sell in the UK, because people are just lazy as fuck, dude. Like, they don't want to cook. They just want to eat cereal. So we've had this like huge spike of breakfast cereal and stuff. And I don't know, man, it's forced people to do that. But I think it's just about finding those little wins in it and just trying to embrace it as much as possible. All right, you can't go out for a meal up at the local restaurant, but you can buy some really nice ingredients, and you can make a nice meal at home and make it feel like a date night. But I don't know, it's hard. It's tough for people, dude. It's not an easy thing to be going through. It's a very unique position for humanity, not just individuals. It's everything that we should have has been taken away. Community, exercise, it's just been ripped away. And I don't know. I don't want to go down the conspiracy route, but like, I don't know. I don't agree with. I really heavily disagree with the lockdowns. I'll be honest. I'm going to say that I do appreciate that we're going through this global pandemic and there is a virus around, but having young people and stuff stuck at home, not letting them go to school, like kids, that's not good. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know the answers. I'm not an epidemiologist, but what I do know is from my little platform, the messages that you get and the people that reach out and the people that say they're struggling. I mean, if I'm seeing it with a little mountain bike action sports podcast, then there's a lot going on, and that is pretty scary. So
it is. There's
just trying to do what we can, to keep people's spirits high and keep people moving forward. And if it, like you said, it's like if someone can just take one little bit away from this podcast even, and they're like, I'm going to ask my next door neighbor if they want to go for a walk tomorrow morning, then job done for me. Like, we've accomplished what we should be doing with this thing.
Dude, I think you're doing really good work with your podcast. You're really bringing a great voice and doing a great job in at this time for people. I think that you're really filling up a hole that's missing in the mountain bike community, and it's amazing that you're keeping doing this, and answering your messages is big, and podcasting is important, man. It's telling these stories and being transparent, because it's like, I was listening to David Goggins speak on a podcast, and I recently reread his book, You Can't Hurt Me. And, he was just talking about how sometimes people can be so unrelatable, and you come on a show and you're like, I'm fucking awesome. And people are like, okay, cool. Like, you're awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome,
you're
man.
a millionaire.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. But
I'm not.
But I think it's important for people like us to be vulnerable and to share the struggles, because it makes us human. We're human just like everyone else. And, things, it's not easy. Like we speak a lot about habit and routine, and habit and routine kind of takes you up off the ground and gives you, gets your head above the water, so to say, so you can operate and be happy, and seems to anyways take care of a lot of mental health issues. But it's really easy to stop doing that or not even have a routine, because it's not something you're taught, right? And I'm just speaking to routine as one certain thing, because everyone's different and everyone helps. But I think it's good for us to speak transparently about it. And throughout my experience in the lockdown, I'm not sure what exactly helped me feel better about myself and my situation, but I've actually grown to love it. And I'm leaving next week and to go back to the West Coast, and I'm very excited, but I'm also kind of bummed, to be honest,
Really?
which is weird, which is so weird, because a couple weeks ago, all I wanted to do was ride my mountain bike. No, sorry, months ago, all I wanted to do was ride my mountain bike. And now I'm about to go riding for, the next 6 months as hard as I can every day. And it's crazy that, to feel this way, that it's just your mindset,
Yeah. Well, lovely segue. Beautiful. Such a good segue, dude. You're getting too good at this. What do you think it'll change though moving forward? Like, do you think now you're going to take more breaks out to just come and hang with the family and just like peace out from riding and action sports in total?
Well, okay. Some people talk about having breaks and making sure it's really important, but I've already had a lot of breaks with injuries. I've been out of the game, and I love the game so much. All I want to do is be in it. I want to be fully immersed in it every day I possibly can, because I love it so much. And it's funny, man, because a lot of people talk about breaks, especially at my age. Everyone's like wanting to slow down, but like, dude, it's crazy. Like, I feel reborn. I feel like I'm 18 years old. I'm like, take me to everything. I want to do everything. How can my brands, how can I help you expand? Podcast. Yeah, let's do it. Like, every single thing I can do, I really want to do it. I feel capable. I got the energy. So I'm definitely not trying to step away from everything. I really feel like, like a lifeguard on the beach. I know how to swim really well, and I'm strong. So let's run around and help people out and save people from drowning. And make sure that the party's going on, and everyone's having fun.
Yeah. I like it, man. That works. It works. But it sounds like it's been a good break though. Like, just hang out with the family, something that you just don't ever get to do. And I don't know, it's been the same here actually. Like, I've hung out with my dad all day today, which usually we don't really find time to do that. Either he's busy, I'm busy, and it's little things like that, all right, maybe you can, like, here, dude, just so you know, you can only like go outdoors with one other person. So that's obviously throwing the spanner in the works for a lot of families getting together and stuff like that. But sometimes you need, I don't know, sometimes I feel like you need that, you need that one-on-one time with someone. Like me and my dad, we never really have like super deep chats. We're really close. My dad is my best friend, hands on heart, my best friend. But whenever we'd meet up and all the family were there, you just sort of have almost small talk. Whereas today we spent 4 hours walking around the beautiful area that I live and had an actual like deep, meaningful chat, because you can only meet that one person. So
it's beautiful.
And you've got time to do it now as well. For once, there's actually time to just be like, well, there's nothing else going on, so let's just go out and walk for the rest of the day. So yeah, I think, again, it's just taking those little, potential wins out of this shitty situation. So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I'd like to speak to that for a second, because most people have their work life, their friend life, and their family life, right? And your work life, you learn how to excel in it, and they kind of, you at least you want to learn how to excel in it. And same with your friend life, you surround yourself with people that you love and hopefully make you better, and you excel there. But a lot of the times there's a lot of issues in the family life, and I think that part of checking yourself and checking in with yourself to make sure that you're all solid is when you can excel in all three. And coming home over the holidays, luckily there's, not luckily, but because of COVID and stuff, there wasn't a really big holiday reunion and stuff. But, being home and around the family has really made me and allowed me to check into my family situation and make sure I'm excelling there and that I'm supporting my family as much as my friends, and I'm excelling here and, as much as I would be at my workplace or, with my friends. So it's actually been pretty cool because a lot of family situations can break motherfuckers down, man. Like they could be at work and be like the most successful badass, like got it together dude. And then all of a sudden over the holidays, like they could just like fucking lose their shit.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, man. It's true. It is true.
So that's been beautiful.
Maybe it takes a global pandemic to sometimes make you realize that, like, when you really boil it down to like, right, what's important? Who should I be checking in on? It's like, right, my family, my really close friends. That's pretty much it. Everyone else, you'll be all right. Dude, just leave it. Check you in a year.
That's another thing that has really gotten to me in this lockdown because I've been doing a lot of journaling and a lot of reflection and, man, relationships. I have totally realized within the last month that relationships are the most important thing in your life. Meaningful relationships. And just thinking back, especially with podcasts, there's been a couple shows and you talk about your life and, all these crazy things that you did. And you understand that why you did those crazy things or why the times were so good. It's because of the relationships you had with the people. Nice, it's really been really important to me and driven home just how important my relationships are and to make sure that I am just giving all the relationships just as my 100%, my 100% presence, my everything giving, whatever I can do to just make sure these relationships are the best they could possibly be and just spread the love because it's those relationships that really make my life so awesome.
That's it.
Man.
True.
It's so true. It's so important.
Yeah. It has been a weird time through this to reflect on that as well a little bit. I feel like you sort of do realize who your close friends are too when you're going through something, whether it's a global pandemic or something else. Like I bet when you got super injured after the loop of doom, you probably may, and I'm not putting words into your mouth, but after that you go, okay, well, maybe you look at your phone or your email and you're like, okay, well, who's been in touch with me? Like, who are our actual close friends? And that, for me, has been a bit of a thing going through this because anyone that's close to me will know that, I have my own businesses. And then, I was thinking about it out on a run the other day and I'm like, that guy hasn't been in touch for 6 months. He's not a close friend anymore. Like, it's done. Do you know what I mean? And you could say the opposite. I haven't been in touch with him either, but I know that he's got a job and he's relatively successful. So it's like, I think that's been a bit of a thing as well, like taken away from this whole pandemic. It's like, right, who actually gives a shit about you? Because when I almost died a few years ago, I did it then, similar to this. You go, right, well, who's called me in the last 3 weeks? Who's sent a text to ask if you're okay? And it definitely makes you realize that some people are not worth keeping in your life. You can definitely delete those people.
Totally. And what I have to say to that is it's your life. And really, who's going to call you in those dark times is really a result of your relationships before the dark times.
Yes,
so definitely. It's all in your court, and really that's, you want to speak to the loop of doom. Well, luckily all my friends were there for me. And I think it was because that, or at least the ones I loved. And I think that's because our strong relationship going into that. Right. And it's funny to hear you say that because I hear a lot of people say that. And I often think about that too. Like, oh yeah, things aren't so good. I wonder who my real friends are. But, honestly, I think it's a two-way street, relationships. And, you set the seeds when the times are good. And if you've done your best job in that, then when times are bad, then you're really going to know who your real friends are, because they're going to be there for you, and hopefully you're doing the right thing. But if you think you're doing the right thing and then times get bad and no one's there, then you should most certainly check into yourself and reevaluate, what kind of people you're keeping around.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And see if there's a reason that they're not checking in with you. Maybe you just actually reflect on the fact that you might just be an arsehole and nobody likes you.
Or maybe you have
You should be
toxic
alone.
relationships. Maybe you're attracted to toxic people. There could be a whole bunch of things there. I mean, that's a podcast in itself.
Yeah, it is. It's true. It's true. That is true.
But dude,
Man.
before we
Yes.
talk about this book mindset, I think it would be cool to maybe talk about the other books that we have read. And have you been keeping up with anything from any of the other books? Is there anything that, from the other books that we read that have been keeping into your life?
Yeah, good question, man. I like that. So let's have a little. So in January, I really made a conscious effort to do 30 days of Wim Hof breathing, which definitely relates back to how this started, which was breath, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I did a full 30 days, really stuck to it, because that is something that, when you talk about routines and stuff like that, that is something that sometimes does fall off the wagon a little bit. My breathing, like I will always do a cold shower in the morning. That's a given. But whether or not I take the time out, which is usually 15 minutes to do 3 rounds or 4 rounds of Wim Hof breathing. But in January, I did it through the app. If anyone hasn't done that, it's really good because it keeps a track of it. It shows you how you're doing. It's amazing. So yeah, that's really stuck with me for sure. I always think about resistance. Even last night, I was sat sort of doing a little bit of a brainstormy journal thing. And I always, dude, that book is just, it's so embedded into me now anyway, that it's just always a thing. I always think about resistance. Yeah, always. And I saw that Stephen Pressfield just did another podcast with Tim Ferriss, which came out today or yesterday, I think. So I'm going to be diving into that one pretty hard.
That's exciting.
Yeah, no, I get excited for that too. And when I refresh my podcast feed in the morning and I'm like, oh, this is going to be fire. So yeah, I guess they're my 2 real takeaways. But what about yourself?
Man, I mean, I'm working hard on that mental reprogramming stuff from...
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, I've been working hard on that, and I got into a new book called Leading with Character, which is kind of like it's more like a mental performance book. But anyways, that has really forced me to double down on my efforts to continue to instill those character traits in myself. And journaling has definitely come into the picture a little harder, which has been nice. I've actually been finding it's been helping me improve my sleep, because now I'm doing 30, 40 minutes of journaling every night through these.
And what does your journaling practice look like, out of interest? Like, have you got a structure? Have you got just a notepad? Like, how do you do it?
Well, if you read the book Leading with Character, at the back of the book there is a journal, and it is a 160-day journaling challenge that you have to take. And part of the challenge is to establish a mental creed, like a creed for your life. Like the SEALs, the Navy SEALs have a creed. And a lot of companies, you'll go to work for a company, and the company will have a culture doc that they'll read to you, and you understand what the company is all about. This book is basically like, if you don't have one of these docs for yourself, a moral compass, so to call it, you'll get lost, and you'll live a life of less meaning. Because
beautiful way to put it.
Because it's a performance book, and the guy
and what's this called? Because I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy it like right after this.
Oh wow, okay. It's called Leading with Character, and I'll text you the author after, because I can't remember it. But basically, the book is like, if you want to really excel in your sport, building character is the most important thing, because your character traits lead to authenticity, and authenticity leads to incredible performance and sustainable performance. So it's all about doubling down on your character traits that you want to instill in your life, which works great because it's basically running off of mind hacking and everything off of mind hacking. It's just kind of like the next level of mind hacking, so to say.
Wow. I mean,
so it's been tough. Like, honestly, it was a bit of a tough book to get through, but I really drove home for me, the importance of that mind hacking book and trying to instill these character traits that you really want to bring into your life. And it's a long process. It takes years. So I'm just going down that path, right? So mind hacking has definitely been something that I've been working up and keeping into my life. And actually, I haven't busted out the tape for at least a month and taped my mouth. So I was going to get into the book Breath again and cover. Really? Yeah, I was going to cover the middle part there about taping your mouth and why that's important and the change. Just so I could get that back in my brain, because I find as I read a bunch of books, some of the old ones and important notes of them kind of tend to slip out the back door. So I like to revisit them every the important ones.
That's something that I want to work on a little bit too. And it's interesting you brought up journaling, because that's on my list of things to actually start trying to do, because like you just said, so you're learning all this stuff all the time, dude. Like, you're reading these books and you're listening to podcasts, and it's almost sometimes it can be a little bit too much information. And I think that's important then to right, okay, how do you keep a track of what you should be doing? Because even using the Wim Hof breathing as an example, I know every day I should be doing that, but some days I forget. But if I had a practice which reminded me in the evening, even where you sit down for half an hour, 40 minutes, journal, maybe that's the thing. And that's almost like a meditation as well. But I just feel there's so much stuff that you can be doing, and it's almost, again, going back to there's not enough time in the day, right? There's not enough time in the day. That's interesting though, because I have been trying to figure out a way of keeping a track of a lot of my stuff that I enjoy learning. And I mean, I don't know, maybe that's my thing. I keep getting advertised on social media, this journaling book, and I keep going, I'm going to buy that. And it's pretty expensive, dude. It's kind of, and then I'm like, maybe I don't need it. But so leading with character looks like it could be the solution, actually. I feel like with that, you need something that guides you through it. I think that's what I need. Okay, think about this today for your and then journal on it this evening or next week or something like that. I feel like I need that structure to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll just be all over the place.
Yeah, it's been nice. I've been enjoying it, but basically in that book, they talk about how to reprogram your subconscious, and journaling apparently is one of the most effective ways for you to program yourself and get in there deep. Right. And you write something over and over and over and over and over again every day. It infiltrates your system and becomes a part of you. And yeah, man. I mean, I was hesitant at first with the journaling. I will admit, I was I listened to Aubrey and all these guys, and they all journal. Tim Ferriss, huge journaler. And I guess I was just kind of didn't want to bite the bullet, but it was inevitable that I would start a journaling practice, and here I am. And I guess I started journaling when I started the book, and then I got to the end of the book and started this 150-day challenge. I guess I've been journaling for a month now, and it's been nice. Okay. I mean, I won't be able to tell you how the results are until at least a year. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is good. Which will be exciting, actually. Maybe we can go through it. Yeah, but it's a nice. I think you should do it, man. You should do it for sure. I think that you just got to find what works for you. That's it.
Yeah, for sure. I took last month, actually, I took the first one of my to-do things throughout the year. I sort of set myself a few little goals and stuff to try and achieve. But one thing I wanted to stick to was to do one mental health day a month. So the last Friday of every month, I'm taking off work, full disconnect. You can't reach me. I'm turning everything off, and I'm just going to go and play in the woods, or just be in the woods and just walk and do whatever I want to do that day. So I took one this Friday, just gone, and then the Friday in January too. And it's really nice, man. I think that if anyone's not doing that, especially right now, and again, going back to working at home and stuff, it's weird because you don't feel like you're working because you're at home, but you're always at work. So you sort of need to be able to just, disconnect a little bit and just go away. And I think it's important. So I've been doing that as well. So that's been really nice. Really, really nice practice, actually.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I think that stuff's important, dude. Got to keep your mental and emotional axe sharpened.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy.
So this,
all right,
so this book mindset. What did you think about it? I'm curious, man. You were chewing into this one for a while, so tell me everything, man.
Yeah, I think. Obviously, with certain books, you sort of gravitate to them, or you really, really can't put it down. This book wasn't that for me. I'll be honest with you. I did kind of struggle. And it's not through a lack of trying. I just feel like, and we can get into this, I feel like, okay, so for those who are listening and maybe you've not read this book yet, mindset basically explores the growth and fixed mindset idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like this book could be condensed a lot, and I feel that's a nice way of putting it. I just feel like a lot of it is, and you obviously will disagree or whatever, but I feel like a lot of it's just like anecdotal evidence. So the author Carol is just talking about studies that have been done with children, adults, sports people, and I just feel like maybe I'm off on this, but I feel like if you can grasp this concept, then the book, I'm not saying it's not necessary, I don't mean that at all. If you can grasp the concept and understand what the different elements are of both mindsets, you're good.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm off on that. Maybe I'm off. But I just feel like a lot of this book, I was a bit like, a lot of it is about children and education.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I struggled with it a little bit, but and then saying, so I feel like the first part I really enjoyed, and I've got my notes here that I started making as I was reading it. I'm really trying to like really read and make notes as you go along. So I've made a load of notes about like chapter 1 and then no notes at all. And then I've made notes on the last chapter, which to me sort of feels like it gives you the bit, it gives you the start of it, and then a lot of the middle's just like, and then we did this, and then we did that, and then the end of it for me is like, boom, like this is the meat on the bone here a little bit. So, yeah, but good book, like fuck, like anything that makes you think different, I feel like is a good book anyway. But I just feel like I did struggle with this one more than the other ones, to be honest with you.
I think you're completely right. Like having
Really?
to read, yeah, because it's been years since I dug into this book, and when I got into it again, I was fired up. The first chapter, I was like, yes, and then the whole middle, man, you're just like, it's proof. You're right. They're just driving home proof. And
yeah.
I feel like it's important for it. That would be really great for, my younger self who is very critical of new thoughts, is very fixed. I had a fixed mindset, so to say. And so you need all that evidence to be driven into your brain. But if you're open to the fact and you can understand the concept at the beginning of the book, you probably don't need to read the whole book. Actually, you probably don't even have to buy the book. You could just go and look at look up a summary of a book. Actually, I saw summaries of the book, and there's one picture, and it describes the book perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's just a picture, dude.
I think it could be the final picture in the book actually. Which I agree. It looks a little bit like this. I know we don't have video, but it looks like that.
Yeah, that's the picture right there.
That's the picture. Dude, I thought the same thing when I got to the end of it the other day, and I'm like, that's the book on one page. There you go. But I did have a lot of takeaways from it though, and I'm not going to totally bash it. I would be really interested though, and maybe you can do this, to hear. Cam Zink recommended this book to you.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from Cam, like, what elements of this really stood out, which made him recommend it to other people. I'd be actually super interested to hear that, because I see certain bits in there, obviously, that would make a change to someone like Cam and athletes and stuff. But I don't know. I just feel like there's just something missing with this one for me. I don't know.
Well, maybe because you already have a growth mindset,
That is something I was sort of thinking about as I was reading it as well, a lot, actually. It did bring home quite a lot, and I've written them down. We can go through it, for sure, but it definitely did make me think a lot about that, actually. And from what I understand from reading the book, no one is going to have one or the other, but I definitely lean way more towards the growth mindset. And anytime that, when you read in the book and you're reading the stuff about the fixed mindset, I'm like, I'd never even entertain that idea anyway, so it's not even that relatable.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sort of hammering home an idea that I probably grasped when I was pretty young.
Mm-hmm. Which is amazing. I think you're very lucky. For me, for instance, when I first read the book, I couldn't believe how often I was in the fixed mindset.
Right.
And then when I started to explore, or the book was telling me what happens when you're in the fixed mindset and what it does to your personal growth, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God. And this whole thing of natural talent, like, I laugh so hard. It says ever since I read that book, basically the biggest insult you can give to somebody that's going to be most detrimental to them is comment on their natural ability, which is insane because we do that to everybody. We're like, oh my God, you just learned that. You're amazing. Oh my God, you're so naturally talented. That's actually the most damaging thing you could say to anybody, which is
totally
mind.
And that's a good point, actually. I think that if you are somebody out there listening and you have kids, you should 100% read this book, because you'll be able to shape them into a better character. I feel like, just like you said, by the way that you talk to kids, the way that you praise them in certain ways, which I'd be really bad at explaining to people. You just did it perfectly. But I think, if you've got kids, definitely should read this. And I feel like if I were to have kids, I'd go back and read this book just to make sure that you're giving them that self-talk, which is going to put them in that growth mindset. And I'm thinking, back to my childhood and stuff. And when I was reading this, and I'm like, maybe that's what my parents always did to me. And that's why I'm not in that fixed mindset realm too often anyway. So that'd be my advice to anyone out there with kids, especially read this book. Young children, to definitely look at how you're talking to them and stuff.
See, I think for also another big thing is like we're always training, right? And we're riding together, and you're interacting with your friends, and every interaction you have with your friends is either gonna make them better or make them worse, right? It's setting the stage for positive growth or negative decline. And just to hear how influential your praise can be onto others, and really this book for me really drives home how important it is to praise effort whenever it is given. Like whenever someone's working hard on something, dude, respect, give them love, respect, tell them, like, nice job, man. Your work, like the work is amazing, praise the work. But as soon as you praise any sort of ability or anything else, you are setting the stage for negative growth, which is something I don't think as a society and action sports culture we fully understand. We're always praising ability, natural ability, effortless ability, like, oh my goodness, Davey, you're so good at interviewing people on podcasts. You're so naturally talented when you talk to people. It's amazing. Well, what that does, all of a sudden, if enough people tell you that, then you start to believe, oh I am naturally talented.
Yeah.
And
start putting in the work.
Natural talent doesn't work. Exactly.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you stop working, which leads to your decline. And that's why we see a lot of 3 to 5 year careers in action sports. So for me, it was really important to to recommend this book to our audience, just because, like, some people are grown up, they understand, they got the growth mindset, and it's all good. But there's a lot of us who have fixed mindsets, and even some of us who have growth mindsets will have fixed mindsets in certain areas. So just to understand that what it is,
Yeah.
and see when you're in it and when you're not into it, and understand that with a growth mindset, anything is possible.
Yeah, that's something that I wrote down actually as well. That I put on my notes, like, most importantly, anything is possible. I think that basically sums up this book in a way. Like, anything is possible. And it's funny because I slightly off topic actually, was having a conversation with my girlfriend the other day, and talk about actually two people who grow up in totally different mindsets. She's I wouldn't say she's from a fixed mindset family. That's not fair. But they don't push themselves too hard. They're quite sort of like stuck in the ways, I'd say, a little bit. But I mean that in the nicest way. It's quite it's quite a lovely thing. But we walked past this really beautiful house close to where we live. And there's all this land. And my girlfriend Emma said to me, she said something along the lines of, we'll never be able to own that. And I was like, yeah, we could. Of course we could. Anyone can do that. No, they can't. You have to have inherited money to buy that house. I'm like, no, not true at all. People make money and they do buy stuff like that. Like, I'm not a materialistic person at all, but I'm like, if we both got lucky or worked hard enough, we'd buy that house. Just because you don't have it now doesn't mean you're not going to have it in a year, 2 years, a month, 10 years, 50 years. Like, so yeah, that's important to think.
Yeah, because with a growth mindset, anything is possible. And
yeah,
you look at, like, they hammer on Michael Jordan in the book, which is so funny. And of course,
it's very American. It's quite an Americanized book, right?
Yeah. And, they keep going back that Michael Jordan sucked at basketball when he started, and the coach was like, you're never going to be nothing. And, classic story that we all love of champions. And, they really talk about Michael's mindset and his ability to work. And for me, what reading the book again, what really got driven home was this idea that natural talent is a curse. Natural ability is a curse. And really, with enough work, anybody could do anything. And I want to learn how to speak Spanish,
Right.
But I really struggle with language. I'm dyslexic, and basically, like, every second I work on Spanish is like someone taking a screwdriver to my eyes. And like, it's tough, man. And but here I am reading this book, and this book is basically telling me anybody could learn Spanish. just with work. Yeah. Just with work. Yeah. And it's this idea that these people with the natural ability, what they have is a deep love for what they're doing. So they're able to spend more time on what they're doing because they just get lost in it, and they're loving it. They're loving the learning. They're addicted to the learning process. They every effort put in towards learning is just, it's embedded in them. And it's crazy being on the other end of something that every second I put into is like torture. It's so hard, but it's so great. I'm reading the book and I'm like, oh man, I know what I got to do, but it's so hard. And it's just, it's pretty funny. But
it's funny because, like, I feel like a language is so different to so many things. It's like, if you were just trying to get, let's say your goal was to build $1 million business, $1 million business, you could get lucky and you could get there. But with language, if your goal is to, be able to speak fluent Spanish, the only way to achieve that goal is through thousands of hours of work. That's the only way you can get there. Like, it's not going to miraculously just happen in your head, right? It's not going to happen. It's really funny. Language is a great example, actually, I feel like.
Yeah, so my mindset towards my training obviously needs to change. but it's, it's funny. I think that power of resistance, in that last book that we read together, I think ties into the mindset thing. And, I'm sorry that I put you through another torturous read, but I'm happy.
No, it wasn't torturous. No, it wasn't torturous at all. No, not at all. I'd tell you if it was torturous. I'd have just not read it and just sat here. And the thing is, it actually took me a long time to read it because it wasn't easy to pick up and start reading because I felt like I just wasn't getting a lot of value out of that. Like you said, that middle section, and it's quite a big book, really. Compare it to the War of Art, and how much you get from that in such a short space of time. This is going to be, I don't know, probably 50 times bigger than that. And I feel like I've got less out of it than I would reading the War of Art again. But it did, there's definitely a few things that I was really thinking about, from a personal level about when I was growing up. And, I remember thinking about school. I hated school, dude. I was in a fixed mindset at school because I hated being at school. And I wouldn't even entertain the idea of doing better, getting better grades. I never got higher than a D mark at school ever. I never got a C, a B, an A star. There's more chance of fucking, I don't know, whatever happening. I was in a fixed mindset, but at the same time, I was in a growth mindset though, because I almost knew that nothing I was learning in school was going to relate to my actual life outside of school. I knew that super early. I knew that I'm not academically clever. I'm not going to use English, science, maths 90% of the time. That isn't going to take me where I'm going in my life. And I think I realized that super early. So I was in a fixed mindset at school. But then outside of school, I was in a super growth mindset because I was always hustling. I started businesses when I was super young, and and I feel like that was a bit of a takeaway from this book. Made me realize that I was fixed in the way that between those hours at school, I was just there in body, but not at all in brain, mind, spirit at all. I wasn't even there. I was just just doing it so I didn't get in trouble,
Mm-hmm. School is a tough one, but I think it's good that you just spoke to how you can be in a growth mindset in one area and a fixed mindset in the other. And that applies for everything and every day. And that's tough. Yeah. That's tough, man. That's huge right there. And just understanding which one is which and what fixed mindset behavior leads to and what growth mindset believer leads to. Now, what struck me with this book, which was really funny, is I've been part owner of the Rise, the street brand.
Yeah,
we made frames and all this stuff, and it's still going on today. And it basically runs street mountain biking, the little subculture, really thriving and it's crushing. Anyways, we're always tasked with who we're going to sponsor, right?
Okay.
And I am notoriously awful for picking athletes that just explode themselves, and I'm like, this guy is it. This guy right here, he is the next Brandon Semenuk,
Yeah.
And then a couple years down the road, he's gone. And it's crazy.
From injury, or they just fall out?
Well,
with the sport,
just there's so many things, right? There is so many things. It's just indescribable, how many things can pull off. You look at we look at young athletes and we forget, if they're under 16, they haven't even got cars yet. They're not into parties, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So many things. Anyways, this book basically says that the only way you can pick talent or future success is from a person's attitude. Are they a growth mindseted person? Are they open to learning? Are they, constantly trying to improve themselves? Or are they in a fixed mindset? And that is the only, or one of the only, time tell things about future performance, which is insane to me. It's just insane.
Yeah, you know, and using that as an example, then, because this is actually quite interesting to me, because I sometimes struggle to I don't know if it's because I'm a little like dyslexic myself, maybe, I don't know, but I struggle to see the differences between the two sometimes. So let's say you've got an athlete then, and you're like, okay, he's in a growth mindset. What does a fixed mindset athlete probably look like? Would that be just sort of taking it for granted? Not, yeah, okay, it'd be like taking it for granted, maybe not being, I don't know, yeah, bad at communication. I don't know. Is that probably what it'd look like?
It's muddy waters, man. It's muddy waters. I mean, like, certainly, I mean, fixed mindset. What would a fixed mindset mountain biker look like? You know, see, these are great questions. Like, how do you tell someone's in a growth mindset or not? And I guess, you know, after reading the book, that's really just, you know, how they interact when maybe someone's better than them, or someone lands a trick that's better than them, or maybe there's, you know, a couple guys in the park and someone who is around the same skills level as them. How are they interacting, you know? And just watching and observing their behavior, basically, to see if they're fixed or if they're in a growth mindset. And that will basically determine whether or not they'll get sponsored or not, which is insane to believe it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I'm not saying that the kids that I chose or would choose before would be in a fixed mindset, because often I think reflecting, they would be growth in certain areas. It's just, there's so many variables to picking talent, and it's impossible. It's just insane. Like, there's just so many things. And this book really drove that home for me. It's like, wow, the person that I think right now will never be anything, that guy could be the next Brandon Semenuk. You know, now I'm at the skate park and I'm looking at everyone like they're going to be the next fucking Michael Jordan. You know, I'm looking at the kid and I'm like, you know, looking deep into his eyes and like giving him my energy, because I need to be open-minded to the fact that anybody could make it. Anyone could do it, you know? And I think that's an important takeaway from the book for me anyways.
It's good. That's good actually, because there are a lot of those in the book, and a lot of it talks a little bit about like Tom Brady. And I know this book was written before this time, but like, you look at what that guy's just done with American football. He wasn't even like a first round draft pick, and then all of a sudden he's won, I think 7, I think, competed at 11 Super Bowls. He just took a team to the Super Bowl from nothing. They weren't that good, and when he started at the start of last year, they were dog shit, dude. So, you know, there's that, and then you've got, like you say, Michael Jordan, who wasn't a great basketball player. He was good, but he wasn't great. And then that is the sort of like I mean, I wrote down another example too, which was like Walt Disney was fired from his first job because he didn't have any motivation. Like, what the hell?
It's crazy.
Yeah, it makes you think. It does make you think, dude, for sure. Like, can I just ask you as well? And I really hope that this isn't throwing this guy under the bus or anything, but to relate this back to mountain biking and like your scene a little bit more, and maybe a little bit more, maybe quite relatable for listeners too. So, someone like Jackson Goldstone, what sort of advice and stuff do you think if you were? I mean, I'm guessing you know Jackson anyway, but like, what sort of advice do you think you're giving him around this time of his career? And also, that does look a little bit more like, is it nature or nurture? And it's quite an interesting one, that, because I feel like he's probably the kid who's on like the biggest pedestal coming through. He's going to be racing World Cups. There's probably a lot of pressure on him. Like, and I'd be interested to think and interested to know what you think to that and how you guide his career.
Wow. That's an amazing question. And I do know Jackson, and he's an incredible young man, and I admire him and his energy, but I don't know him that well. And, you know, honestly, I can't say whether or not he is going to be the next biggest thing in the sport, if he's going to, you know, be like an Emil Johansson or a Brandon Semenuk or, you know, a Brett Reeder. I have no idea. I've honestly just given up on trying to predict that stuff.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
But, I would, first I'd have to hang out with him more, get to know him, get to understand him, and see where he wants to go, what his goals are. And then, get in there deeper, maybe suggest certain things, and if anything, if I could help him or not. I mean, that's a good question in itself, because my skill set is really focused on, certain things. And if you want to be successful at downhill mountain biking, well, you better not take any advice from me. You know what I mean? But like, that's a really tough one. And I would have to say it'd be personalized, but you just speak to him and see if he's got that growth mindset and where the fixed mindset is, and make sure you let him know, and make sure that he's not, relying on his natural ability, and that he is consistently putting effort in, and that he's not letting anything go to a head, and he's focused on his process and on the craft. And as the money comes in and all that stuff, just making sure that none of that changes, and I mean, like,
interesting, isn't it, watching kids like that come through and being able to watch the career. I know there's been a few in I'm obviously a little bit more connected, I guess, with the motocross side of things, and growing up watching, there was a young kid called Nico Izzy, and he was like the kid to beat. He was like on the 85cc bikes. They used to have like the best kit. He had endorsements from Volcom and all these sponsors. And then you just watch it fizzle away as like he got substance abuse issues. And there's like Austin Politelli, I believe it is, came through and then just had issues. There's a few that have like held it together, but I think there's more that don't hold it together than probably do hold it together. And it is more of the kids coming up that were in 10th place at the races. And the same with downhill and stuff. It's those kids that have that growth mindset, that are chasing it all the time and aren't just on the top. It's interesting. I don't really know.
I would say that Jackson has a growth mindset. He's worked really hard. Like, he just started younger. Like most guys started when they're like, when they're 15, at least in my generation, that's what was going on. He just started way younger. So he's already been riding his bike for 10 years. He has all the work. He's put in all the work. He has tremendous skill. And I think, we love young up and coming talent. And we've certainly seen a lot of examples of up and coming talent, be given the world and explode themselves. And as a result of that, I think that maybe sometimes people are a little bit hesitant. They want to see some more growth. But I think if you hung out with Jackson and you got to know him, I'm sure that I want to give him the benefit of the doubt anyways. I think he's going all the way.
Dude, I had him on the podcast like a year or so ago, maybe more actually, a couple of years ago. Him and his dad. Really interesting. Super interesting people. Super, super, super interesting. But he'd be a good, amazing guest for you, Jackson.
Yeah.
And I feel like you'd make a great manager too. Like an amazing, just like someone to help him navigate his career and just look at all these different things and hope that, he's not in a growth mindset, not in a fixed mindset.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean,
and all the other kids as well that you help out, through the rise. And all those as well. I don't just mean that guy, but I mean just in general. I think you'd be a good sort of manager or something, or just someone to help out all these young kids coming through.
Thanks, man. Well, it's being in a place where you exploded yourself, and almost died. It helps. You can see the behaviors in certain kids. And you don't know that until you're hanging out with them. But thank you so much, and that's why the podcast is there and stuff. And who knows, maybe that'll be an avenue one day. I certainly enjoy it. Like, my buddy Tom is crazy. Tom Van Steenbergen. We're really close friends, and he is 24 years old, going into peak crazy mode, I like to say. Like, that's just something, a crazy time for young men around that age. And he is just coming up with the fucking most crazy ideas. And I love being his friend and feeding off his energy and giving him a thing or two to think about from time to time. And just seeing how that is, just affecting his mindset and making him better. It's awesome, man. And then also like Griffin Griffin Paulson, who's another young Canadian who's also around the same age, going into peak crazy mode, and just seeing the work ethic and the strength and the tricks he's doing. And it's just like, oh man, it's so exciting getting to hang out with these guys. And I feed off their energy. They're like, literally, like, I feel like they're keeping me young. Like I'm like I'm like the old guy out there. I'm like, yo, dude, you're going to go.
No, you're not.
Go
Don't say that. I hate that. It makes me feel old as shit. You're the young guy.
Dude. Well, it's the reality, man. I'm turning 30 years old. And although I feel amazing, I feel powerful, I'm stronger than I've ever been in terms of action sports. You know, I am an older guy and I'm okay with that. I love that, actually. I love it. And I can't wait to be in my 50s, in my 60s, still hopefully having some sort of contact with, the best guys in the sport and helping them kind of do their thing. And also, having some fun along the way myself too.
For sure. It's interesting, isn't it, how you start to shift that. I remember being like, let's say 21 and you're like, fuck, I don't want to get old. I want to stay this age for ages. And then now I'm like a little older. I mean, I'm 34 and I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I'm really enjoying this now. Like, I know my body well. I feel fitter than I've ever felt. I'm feeling pretty good. And I look forward to being the older fit guy, if that makes sense, both emotionally and physically.
Dude, it's that growth mindset, man. You keep that growth mindset, and getting old is awesome. I think that people got the wrong idea about you. Well, we live in a society that just values youth, young youth, beauty. We forget about how valuable old people are. They got all the experience. Yeah. Actually, they're the most valuable thing, and they get neglected, which is terrible. Yeah. And I think that your excitement to get old and contribute to whatever other people's lives is just a part of being a man. Getting older and understanding that, like, it's your duty as a man to contribute to those around you and support and. That's manhood right there. Because in your 20s, in your early 20s, you're all me, because you're developing. But all of a sudden, you get into your late 20s, your early 30s, and you are developed. You are a man. Now, where are you going to put that energy in? Yeah. Other people, relationships, make other people's lives better. That'll make you feel better, and that's part of being a man.
It's perfect. I really like that. It is, and I guess that's something that you're probably even hammering home even more now you're doing the journaling and you're learning that, like, what it is, like, what are you here for? What is it? And it's super interesting. It's something that I'm battling with more and more over the last year or so, especially being stuck here so much, dude, and having so much more time to think. I'm like really trying to figure out, like, what is it? What am I doing? What am I here for? And I think part of being in a growth mindset is doing that, probably, and not just being in a fixed mindset of like, oh, I just get up and go to work and then I come home and I sit and watch TV. Like, no, think outside the box. Nothing is impossible. You can do anything here. Like, you can leave an actual mark on this planet. You can leave it better than you found it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can try.
That's beautiful, man. And I think, again, dude, you're doing amazing work with your podcast and stuff. You're doing a great job. So I think you just got to keep it up.
Hang out and talk to people, but yeah, it's nice. It is. Yeah. Hopefully. I think something else that I really took away from this book actually was looking at maybe some negatives in your life from a growth mindset point of view. So I've had, we've talked about it before, I guess, but like battles with sort of depression and anxiety and stuff. And I think someone in a fixed mindset might run into some of these issues and maybe just accept them and not do anything about it. And I think that is probably a bit of an issue in society, that people go, oh, I'm depressed. And in the growth mindset, way of looking at that is, okay, something's going on. But there's all this amazing stuff that you can do to help. And, we talked about routine and stuff and stuff like that. And I think that the growth mindset side of that, to me, and the routine is what's helping me get through maybe some shit times, like now, or maybe I mean, sometimes, dude, like I don't know if you're the same, but I just get down for no, like I just get low. I feel like every 3 months I have like a week, and I couldn't explain to someone why I feel like it. I can't tell you why I'm like it. I just feel shit. But then that's when you click into that growth mindset stage again and go, right, okay, I'm feeling like this. I need to be in nature. I need to eat better food. I need to go in the cold. I need to meditate. I need to sleep. And that, started to tick all those little things off for me really helps. And I think going all the way back to when I was younger and I go through these stages, which I think is about every 3 months. Maybe I just have like a man sort of menstrual cycle. I don't know what it is. But I wouldn't know how to deal with it. And I'd just sit in my bedroom, especially being a teenager, like just sit in your bedroom, like feeling like shit. You don't know why you feel like it. You can't talk to anyone. But the growth mindset side of that, I think, is like looking outside of it, not dwelling and going like, right, I need to be out. I need to do this. I need to be on my own. I need to be with other people. And I think, again, that sort of ties, I guess, into the whole lockdown thing is a lot of people will need to be with other people, but you can't be with other people legally. So looking at different avenues, have you tried the cold? Have you tried sauna? Have you tried a long walk on your own? Have you tried going for a wild swim, a bike ride, this, whatever? So that's one thing that I really took away from this book as well. I guess that's sort of applying that mindset to anything is important as well, not just depression and anxiety and stress. It's like happiness, like applying that to that as well, and just understanding it a little bit more and like, why am I happy? Okay, I need to do this a little bit more, or I don't know. So yeah, I wanted to make sure that I spoke about that a little bit too, because that was a big takeaway from this book actually, was looking at certain emotional feelings like that and adding practices to it to either get rid of it or maintain them.
That's amazing to hear you speak to that. Is, and it brings to mind for me just how important it is to feel your feelings. Like feel your feelings, dude. Like if you're feeling down and depressed, and I can only speak from my own personal thing, and most of the time I'm not down, I'm pretty up, but sometimes I am down. And when I am down now, I feel, I go to the bottom of that feeling and I explore it and I sit in it fully. And sometimes that means like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything. Well, then like I don't do anything and I go to the extreme of that, like right down to the bottom, like maybe face down on the couch, who knows, can't even lift the remote to go watch Netflix, whatever it is. Anyways, you sit down there and you dwell in it and you feel it. And then I notice what tends to happen is all of a sudden the feeling's gone. And it's like, okay, what now? What now? And there's all of a sudden there's you've digested it. And then that allows you to start picking yourself up, so to say, like crawling back up to your positive emotional self instead of just burying those feelings deep down, digging a hole and putting them in the ground, because you keep those, So I think it's important for people to feel their feelings. And if you're feeling down, I mean, like look around the world. We live in a crazy time. Shit's going awful everywhere. It's okay to feel like that. It's totally okay. Feel it. Feel like that. You're allowed to feel that. And then when you're finished feeling that fully, now what? Well, I know that, exercise is going to help me change my state. Like that is science. When you move your body, something happens, right? So, check in. Why are you feeling like that? What's going on? And what are you going to do next? And that thing that you don't feel like doing, well, that's when, that's resistance, dude. That's when it's time to muster up and do something about it, right? And some people have that motivation. I personally, I got a lot of it and it helps a lot, but sometimes I don't have it. And the days that I don't win, I'm like, oh, well, like resistance won. And luckily, what tends to happen is I go to sleep and the morning always starts the same. So the routine always kicks in no matter what. And what tends to happen is the routine just jumpstarts me out of whatever I felt the other day. Because I like to really embody a philosophy like every day is a lifetime. When I go to sleep, I'm dying. And I wake up the next day, I'm reborn. Like, what's going on, you know? And I would encourage people to feel your feelings. Like, if it's okay if you're feeling down, it's okay if you're feeling depressed. You have every reason to feel like that. So don't bury it. Feel your feelings, and then, you know, once you felt it and digested it, what's next? You know, what is it? You know, and then go from there.
That's amazing, and I agree with you, man. Totally, that's beautiful. You put it so well. But that is, I did slightly off topic, but we did like a Saks, you know, the underwear brand that I work for. We did like a Saks campaign recently, and we got these 7 guys, these inspirational and motivational guys, sort of like influencers on Instagram and stuff. And we had a guy, for example, that lost his leg. We got a guy who was involved in combat, you know, we were suffering with PTSD. We had a fitness model. We had all these amazing guys. And the sort of like topic of the video was to sort of ask these sort of quite personal questions. And one of the questions was, what is it to be a man?
Wow.
What does it mean to be a man? And a few of the guys, like, you know, when I watched the video back, some of them I didn't really resonate with. You know, one guy was like, it's about being strong and, you know, lifting heavy weights. I think that was like literally one of his things. But then one of the young guys who I won't say I didn't think much of him, but the guy who said this, Luke, was a fitness model, shredded dude, body like a Adonis. You'd think that there'd be nothing in his life that could be wrong. Like, everything should be perfect. He should have the hottest chick. He should have all the money. Like, he's a beautiful man. And he said, for me, a man is someone who just feels. You feel everything. You feel every emotion. And I was like, wow, that's like super powerful that he said that. And I really didn't expect it. So the fact you've just said that as well is really resonated with me, because it is so true that it's okay to feel things. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel happy. It's okay to feel depressed, anxious. It's okay, but it's just what you do with those feelings that I think is the major important thing. If you let them take over, then that's not good. But if you sit with them, and you can sit with them, and I think that's something that you learn through practice, isn't it? It's something that you maybe learn through meditation, of just sitting with that thing for half an hour, and really thinking about it, and then see what you do after that. I think that's kind of interesting and cool way to look at things.
Yeah, explore it to the fullest. Take it to the fullest. Yeah. Like, I'll use a hangover, for instance, which may or may not be a good example, but you get a really big hangover and you're like, man, I feel terrible. Well, like, feel terrible. Feel the worst you've ever felt, you know, feel it 100%. And then you'll find some power in that. And then that will compel you to kick that hangover's ass, at least in my case.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's a good way of looking at it, though, man. A hangover is a great analogy, actually. You know, it's one of those things. If with the right nutrition, the right sleep, and the right mindset, you can overcome a hangover. It's almost a great analogy to depression and anxiety for me.
Yeah, you know, and I think that, you know, what you were speaking to, like men's menstrual cycles, for example, like, I think there is science behind that. Like, men do have ups and downs, emotional ups and downs, and
right,
you know, it's like waves. You catch a wave, you ride it, you crash, you go, you get another wave, you ride it, it's all good. Yeah. Wave ends, you crash. Like, that's just a normal part of being a man, and it's all good, it's all okay, and feel it to the fullest, and get back up on another wave when you can.
Yeah, it's good. It's so true, man.
It's growth mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Explore new things, growth. Exactly.
Or you'll be down. All the, you know, you constantly be down, because I think with the growth mindset, the waves last longer.
True. What? How do you apply the growth mindset then to your business, like the Rise?
Well, you know, when I was involved with more of the business stuff at the Rise, I certainly had a fixed mindset, and I don't know if I helped at all with the business.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, like now and for many years, I actually haven't been involved in any of the business of the Rise. I am just
Okay.
a rider,
Right.
just like the boys, and I will help out when I can because I do have a certain set of tools that I, like building and like a little bit of organization stuff, and I will certainly help out with that stuff when the boys need me. But for the most part, with the business, I actually don't handle most of the business. But I definitely, Lewis, one of my best friends who handles most of the operations and stuff. He does a pretty good job at keeping a growth mindset, but he likes to read crazy stuff because he's a little bit more creative. I find that not everyone has this sick love for self-help books. So I try not to force it on anybody, But when we were looking at books, like what's the next book going to be, I was thinking about, okay, like what are the things that really make a difference? What are the key things that go a long way? And this growth mindset, I think, is a big one.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree totally. I agree, and I don't want to like feel like I bashed the book earlier. I don't want to think that at all. But I agree with you totally. It is anyone who reads this will have a good takeaway, and I think it's just my personal opinion of it. I know people that are in a fixed mindset all the time, so this book could be life changing for them. I just think it's my personal thing is that I'm like I'm pretty much, I do think a lot of this stuff anyway, especially with business. And just my general day-to-day life, I think as well. I've always had like a bit of a growth mindset when it comes to business and always tried my best to do things a little bit differently and always tried to like push the boundaries a little bit anyway. I can't say it's worked. I mean, I've definitely tried some shit. But yeah, interesting. But I think the biggest takeaway that anyone would have from this book is just thinking like literally anything is possible. And I hate it when people say, "Oh, I can't do that. Can't do that." You're like, you can do it. All right. There's certain things you're not going to be able to do. Are you going to win a downhill World Cup at 55 years old? No, you're probably not. But you can get a hell of a lot better on a bike, and you can apply these same things to it. You can plug in some coaching and some whatever, and you can be a lot faster. But I think it's we talked about it before, and it was like the feeling of unlived potential. That is scary.
Yeah,
that anyone would ever have a bit of unlived potential, and I think this book will help you maybe think about how you can reach any unlived potential that you think you're going to leave on the table.
That's beautiful, man. You nailed it. I think that, you nailed it. And this book could certainly be a lot shorter. Maybe they got to come up with the condensed version.
Yeah. Well, if you're a good reader, you'll get through it. I think, I know you do the whole audiobook thing because you're not a great reader.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not either. Like for me, it's really sad. I just enjoy owning books. It's not that I'm a good reader or that I find it easier. It's just that I enjoy going on Amazon or wherever. Hopefully not Amazon. Sorry. Fuck Amazon. Like I just enjoy owning the book, and then I enjoy being able to go back to it and pick it up. I don't know. I've just never really resonated with the whole audio book thing too heavily. So that's the only reason really that I bought it, I guess. But I feel like on an audiobook it might have been a little bit easier to digest because you could have been like, yeah, just carry on doing stuff. But obviously with when you actually physically sat reading it, you're dedicating a lot of time to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And it's nice, I think, to have the physical copy there in your library, and you see the title, and it reminds you, growth. Keep that,
totally.
Keep that mindset. So, I mean, damn. So, it's, on the topics of books, is there anything you've read recently that you come across that maybe I would find interesting? Or are you thinking about another book to maybe recommend?
Yeah, we need to do another one.
Yeah.
We need to do the other one. We need to do the next one, dude. I mean, I've written down 3, but I'm very much open to doing anything, honestly. And I think it's important that, like you said, it's something that people can use and apply to their life, not just necessarily like, I don't know, something that you can't. I don't really have an example for that. But so I've got 3. If you've read them though, I don't think we should do it. I feel like it should be maybe something new, but I don't know. So number 1 would be, have you read Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield?
No, I haven't even heard of it.
Neither had I until so Turning Pro is the follow-up to War of Art.
Whoa, that's exciting.
Yeah, and I didn't even know about it until literally the other day. And I was like, but apparently it's really short. So maybe this is one that we can do and actually stick to the whole like one a month thing. So I've got, you can choose Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. I got down Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker.
Well, I heard of that one, but I haven't read that one. Apparently that's that one's all about sleeping, right?
Yeah. But I don't know if we could do like a good podcast about sleeping.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know it's important, but how we'd, really apply this to real life, I'm not too sure. Or I put down Waking Up by Sam Harris.
Whoa, man! All three of these I haven't read. This is exciting. Okay, so what's Waking Up? What's Waking Up about?
Good question. So Sam Harris is the sort of, I don't even know what his job title would be. I'll tell you right now. Hang on, let me just have a quick Google.
His name sounds familiar.
Yeah, so Sam Harris he's got a really good podcast. He's been on Joe Rogan's podcast a bunch of times. Waking Up is also like a meditation app, which is really popular. But the book description is a guide to spirituality without religion, that discusses a wide range of topics, including secular spirituality, the illusion of the self, psychedelics, and meditation. So that's what that is. Yeah, it's called Waking Up.
Dude, I choose Waking Up. Let's go. Let's drop in, man. I'll probably consume that Turn Pro one on the side there, but I want to.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we do? Because the Turning Pro, I think, is really short.
Okay. But this Wake Up one is got me a little bit fired up, because actually in one of my journaling exercises, I had to rate my life in a bunch of different factors, and spirituality was actually one. And I need to I need to improve on that. I need to get that going. So maybe this Wake Up book is gonna
do that. I'm fired up. I want to do Waking Up. Your boy, our boy Jace from Gypsy Tales.
Yes,
he did like a book review podcast, and all the books he read, I think in 2020, and he said Waking Up was the most important book he's ever read in his life. And I was like,
wow.
And the meditation app is amazing. The Sam Harris Waking Up one. The only reason I'm using it at the minute, and this might be useful to some of our listeners, I've been plugging it on social media a little bit, and it's not anything other than I found it and I enjoy it. There's a new app called Balance, and it's a meditation app, and it like makes meditations for you. As you're going through the various stages, you ask you questions, and then you answer them, and you tell them what you're trying to get from your meditation experience and stuff, and it custom builds a whole practice for you. And honestly, dude, it is amazing. It is the best thing, and it's free for a year. So whenever you sign up, it's free for that year, and then after that, I think it's like $100 or something. But I found out about it because a hip hop artist that I really like called Born I, he's the voice of it, and then he posted it on his social media, and I was like, oh, I'll check that out. Dude, it is the best thing. Honestly, I can't get enough of this meditation app. It makes me, and this is really like, I wouldn't say I've ever really like thoroughly enjoyed meditation. It's not something that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go upstairs in my room and meditate. I know I need to do it, and I do it, but I'm never like fired up to do it. Whereas this, I can't wait to do it. Like, I can't wait. And it gives you like stats on how well you're doing. It tells you like how long you've been doing it for. It tells you how many hours you've spent in meditation. Dude, it is the bomb. So yeah, there you go. Tip: Balance meditation app.
Well, I'll have to check that out. You sent it to me a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I did actually.
And
I did.
I didn't even.
I sent it to everyone.
Yeah, I didn't even look into it, man. I've been a little bit too busy, and
It
been
has
maybe a little bit.
one
I've been a bit of
I
a
like the most.
oh, sorry.
Go on, sorry.
I've been a bit of a fixed mindset when it comes to my meditation practice. I guess I got to shift gears and download that app and give it a try.
It's got this one called immersive music, and I really like ambient music and stuff. But you put your phone, you lay down, you put the phone on your chest, and it vibrates like similar to the music. So the music's like, you know, doing like really low like tones, and the phone's like going zzz on your chest. It's fucking amazing, dude. It's like so immersive. It's insane.
That's awesome.
Anyway, I've bashed the balance app enough. So yeah, definitely get that. Anyone who wants to try meditation. So okay, Waking Up by Sam Harris.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm stoked.
Hi. I can't wait because this has been on my like list for ages. So that's perfect.
And I get fired up, man, when someone comes through the new book like that. I'm like, oh man, I was excited. I actually, speaking of books, I got into Contagious recently. Have you heard of that one?
No.
It's why things go viral. It's the science behind why we share things, and
Oh wow,
it's
really?
quite interesting, man. It's quite interesting, and leading into some new projects, I want to. I'm doing my best to make sure I can make them as, shareable as possible. And it's been an interesting one for sure. It's just so cool, dude. We live in such an amazing time where there's just so much information out there. I love it.
You must have been impressed with the response from that last edit that you put out. Because I don't know if we've spoken since. I know it was coming out. I don't know if we've spoken since.
Which one?
I can't remember. I mean, the edit, like the last edit that you put out, not the one that just went live from the skate park, but I can't remember what you called it.
Yes, the title video. Yeah. Crazy response. It blew me away. But
amazing.
I mean, it's just sometimes you get lucky, you hit it right, but it's awesome when stuff like that goes right because it just lets you know you're on the right track. And for me, I was just getting started, so. If you like that, then they're gonna love what's coming next.
Sick.
It's awesome.
You need to jump your house. Apparently, that's what the cool kids are doing these days, man. You got to jump your house.
Nah, dude, I'm not interested in jump. I don't even have a house.
Even better, it'd be easy for
jump
you.
my mom's house.
There you go. Build a ramp, get your friends around to film it, man. It's what all the cool kids are doing these days. You got to jump your house.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And
wow,
this was awesome.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it as usual. And I'm sorry it's been such a long time, but I'm looking forward to this next book. So I'll bash through this one because I know that this is one that I'm not going to want to put down. So
it's going to be exciting, man. Is there anything else that you feel like you want to speak to before we close things down, or you think we nailed it?
I think we nailed it. I think I'm doing that challenge this coming weekend. So the 4x4x48. So we'll see how I feel after that. Yeah. So have you heard of it before?
No.
Okay. So the 4x4x48 is a challenge that David Goggins set up a year ago.
Yes. Yes. He does it yearly. Yeah. No?
He does it annual.
Yes.
He does an annual 4x4. Yeah. So I'm doing it. It starts on Friday.
You're doing that shit, man. That's a big run, isn't it?
Yeah. So you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So it's a 48-mile run in total. Dude, I'm not a runner at all. So I'm looking forward to it.
You read his book?
Oh, it's so good.
I love his book.
I love his book. I mean, I love his book. And I love his Instagram because anyone who can have over, I don't know how many million followers and not follow a single person back, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. That's cool. And if I ever need like that little bit of inspiration, I'll be honest, I go straight to his page and I'll watch something and I'll be like, right, we're good. I'm back on the track. Let's go. Let's run. He is
a complete psychopath, man. I mean, like I personally, I love it just to know that people like him exist. You're just like, you tune in or like you post something and you'll say something and I'm like, whoa, there is all sorts on this planet. And I am so happy that I am not going to war with someone like that because he would kill me instantly.
I know.
You would kill.
It's funny because you know when things just happen for a reason. Like I remember I talked to my girlfriend about this challenge about a month ago, and I said, "Oh, I've heard about it. Don't really know much about it. It just came up on something." And then a few days later, he posted it on his Instagram, 4x4x48, and I was like, "That's my calling. I'm doing it. I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna do it." So yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot, dude. Like I say, I'm not a runner. I'm just gonna try. I'm not even gonna try. I'm just gonna do it. Not a try. I'm just gonna do it.
I think it's healthy. Actually, in a great book called the Way of the Seal, they talk about making sure you incorporate a 10x challenge. They call it, which is every month you do something 10 times outside of your comfort zone.
Wow.
Just because we're capable of so much more. They say that actually in the book, they say that everyone is 20 times more capable of whatever you think you are. So like, and that's on average. So like whatever you're doing right now, you are 20 times more capable than that. And it's just that blows my mind. Anyway, so you incorporate practices into your life monthly. So this is a perfect one for you, running this long, 4 hours for 48 hours. That's insane. That is a 10x challenge for sure. That might even be a 20x challenge. I mean, for me, that would be a 100x challenge. But that's a really great way to explore yourself, because man, you're gonna find out like there's just so much more to your being that you don't even know about, which is cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to going feral. I love going feral every now and again. Just all you're doing is doing that thing and nothing else matters. I fucking love that. The amount of clarity that comes out of doing stuff like that, beautiful. So I'm looking forward to it. Other than that, dude, there's nothing else I think we're good. I think, super good just to catch up with you, man. I'm looking forward to borders being open and we can meet up for a beer or whatever at some point really soon as well.
Absolutely, dude. Next time in the UK or next time you're in Canada, we are going to ride some mountain bikes for sure. I love it, dude. Trail biking is probably one of my most favorite activities to do.
Really?
Oh yeah,
and those New Yorkers look sick, dude.
Oh man, they're amazing, and they only help because I'm running out of talent left and right, following some of the best guys in the world. And I'll tell you, man, my bike saves my life probably every ride. And and I can't speak of the brand highly enough, but I absolutely love it. Like coming into the skate park and coming from competing where everyone's kind of like trying to outdo each other, and then all of a sudden you're just on a bike riding down a trail, and it doesn't matter if you suck or whatever. The trail is gnarly, the trail is doing the work. You're just there surviving, and I love it, man. I absolutely love it.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, man. Sick. All right, dude. Well, dinner time here. Gonna wrap this bitch up and go eat some food. But yeah, thank you so much, and massive thank you to everyone for listening as well. It's been a while since they've probably seen one of these episodes on the podcast feed. I've been so balls deep in lockdown, companion. So
yeah,
good to do something different and not speak to Ollie, which is really nice.
Yeah, dude, this was awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you everyone for listening. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy these books. I'm excited to get into the next book, and I'm looking forward to our next chat.
Back at you. One love.